Okay, today we're going to use trig in real world situations. So we're learning about two different types of angles, angles of elevation and angles of depression. So it all has to do with your line of sight. So if you are looking up at something that's up in the air above you, so maybe you're looking at a hot air balloon, or maybe you're looking at the top of a building, or maybe you're looking at the top of a mountain, whatever, a bird that's flying in the air. There's a line, an imaginary line that goes from your eye up to the whatever it is that you're looking at. That's called your line of sight. So imagine like a imaginary line, like a laser beam that's coming out of your eye that connects to whatever you're looking at. That's called your line of sight. So there's an angle that's formed by your line of sight and a horizontal line. So you have to have a horizontal line and your line of sight to create an angle of elevation. So if you think about elevation, elevate, an elevator, you go up. So like if you're at high elevation, you're up. Think elevation, you're looking up. So your line of sight is going into something that's above you. Let's say you're in the hot air balloon and you're looking down at the person below. That would mean that your line of sight, you're looking at something that's below you. So when your angle is formed by the horizontal line and a line of sight that's looking at something below it, that angle that's formed, this angle right here, is called an angle of depression. So when you're looking down below at something, that's an angle of depression. If you're looking above, it's an angle of elevation. So there's two important components to creating an angle of elevation or depression: the line of sight and the horizontal line. You must have a horizontal line in order for this to be an angle of elevation or depression. Okay, we want to classify these angles below as angles of elevation or depression. Okay, here we have this person, this little man, and he's looking up at the airplane. So the airplane is above him. Here's my horizontal line. Here's my line of sight. It's going from his eyeball up to, to the plane above him. So this angle, angle 1 right here, this is an angle of elevation. Okay, number 2. Here's the man on top of the cliff, and he sees this sailboat down below him. So his line of sight, he's looking at something that's below it. I'm looking for my horizontal line. Okay, here's my horizontal line. So angle 2 is formed by a horizontal line and the line of sight that's below the person. So this is an angle of depression. Okay, person standing on top of the building, looking below him to the person on the ground. Here's my horizontal line, my line of sight. Angle 3 is an angle of depression. And angle 4, here's my person on the ground looking up above him at the person on top of the building. Here's his line of sight looking at somebody above him. Here's my horizontal line. I always have to check for my horizontal line. So this angle, because he's looking above him, is an angle of elevation. What about if I said, talk about this angle right here, angle 5? What kind of angle would angle 5 be? So here's the line of sight, and here's the other leg of that angle. What kind of line is this orange line that I just drew? It's a vertical line. This is a vertical line, not a horizontal line. So angle 5 is not an angle of depression, and it's not an angle of elevation. It's neither, because one of the arms of that angle is not a horizontal line. You must have a horizontal line as one of the arms of your angle. Your angle must be formed by a line of sight and a horizontal line, not a vertical line, in order for it to be an angle of elevation or depression. So this is one of the most common mistakes that people make, is they're like, oh, here's my person, they're looking down below them at something on the ground, oh look, here's my angle of depression. And you're like, no, that's not an angle of depression, there's no horizontal line. So just always make sure you have to have a horizontal line for it to be an angle of depression.